it would
Well, and
take time for that to play out.
one of the things that I think is important to notice as you see the communication strategy here is that the more you can convince people with different end visions that they're included in the
Yeah.
action,
Yeah.
the more support you can garner for whatever it is you want to do,
Yeah.
right? So the ambiguity in the messaging is probably a feature rather than a bug
Right.
from a political point of view,
Yeah.
because it allows people to read their own vision of what you're trying to do into the actions.
Yeah. Even if you let us imagine have a very clear imperial and industrial policy in mind, you might not want to show your hand for a while to kind of keep as many people with you as you can, as long as you can. Right.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because keeping your political coalition together, like it'd be good to still be able to pass laws in the House and Senate if you're the
Right.
Trump administration. I'm
Exactly.
not sure that the Trump administration can pass laws in the House and the Senate anymore, but uh, it would be useful to them if they could.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Ready to move on to the final couple items
yeah,
here.
yeah. So,
So then this is or, just around noon today.
yeah. So with all that analytical framework in mind, we start to have a lens to pick out um, what to editorialize as to what is an important news item in the post tariff world and what's not an important news item in the post tariff world.
Mm-hmm.
This is an example of something you would pick out if you were concerned about sphere of influence politics, uh, rather than thinking of. So if you imagine you're toggling towards sphere of influence politics or like anti-Chinaism as your justification for the tariffs, this would be very concerning to you.
Mm-hmm.
So China and the European Union have begun negotiations to eliminate tariffs on Chinese cars, right? So you see this news story will probably play out in all of these. So there's a whole collection of American vassal states from Australia to the EU to Vietnam to Saudi Arabia is another great example where they have trade pulls towards the United States and they have trade pulls towards China, and they rely to some extent on one or the other for protection. And if the US is going to take a stick and punish them with tariffs, one of the things they're going to immediately try to do, either in earnest or as a negotiation tactic, is go to the alternative hegemon and say, well, let's make a deal with you. So when you see a news story like this is the European Union uh, either genuinely moving in the direction of moving to the Chinese sphere of influence, Chinese protection as a
Mm-hmm.
vassal state, or this is the European Union threatening to do this in order to discipline the United States to treat them fairly,
Right.
right? Classic. Uh, if you just imagine yourself in a medieval circumstance and you're a vassal on the border of two kingdoms, what you're
Mm-hmm.
going to do is you're going to play off one against the other in order to get the best deal possible from whoever your protector ends up being,
Right.
right? And as the balance of power shifts, you see people change teams. This is a normal part of history.
Yep. And as I've covered on the show, according to the historian Ralph Raico, the origin of European liberty, because there's lots of little borders and lots
Yeah.
of possibilities to shift. So,
Yeah, that's an interesting aspect to it as well. I don't have a I don't want to over editorialize here
yeah.
about what will come of it, but certainly if you look at the way Europe has been treated by the American empire, certainly since 2020,
Mm-hmm.
um, you can see why they would be very happy to have the opportunity to play an alternative potential protector against the Americans, right? Because in a world where China is the protector of Germany, they don't have to. They can have Russian energy again, right?
Right.
And because China and Russia are deeply strategically linked, they could probably rely on China to restrain Russian aggression.